Edge of Eternities is warping in, and with it comes a brand new way to play Commander. Instead of just any other guy slinging spells and draining life, you can file an orbital barrage from space with the brand new Spacecraft Commanders. Now, a spacecraft is nothing without its crew, so I've enlisted the help of Mask of Friendly Rivals to help me talk about all the possibilities in this brand new frontier.
Thanks, Kuro. The World Shaper Precon from Edge of Eternities is all about lands, which honestly isn't anything new, but what is fresh and exciting is the way it uses them. It isn't just by ramping them out, it's by sacrificing them.
The World Shaper Precon from Edge of Eternities comes with two commanders, Hearthhull, the World Seed, and Zariel, Genesis Shepherd. Hearthhull, the face commander, is a spacecraft which, on its face, is just a 1-in-a-Junda artifact with Station. Station, which is very similar to Crew, is a new mechanic that comes with some important differences. At sorcery speed, you may tap another creature and put charge counters on the Hearthhull equal to that creature's power. Once you have 2 or more charge counters, it gains its first ability. Pay 1, tap, and sacrifice a land. Draw 2 cards, and you may play an additional land this turn. But your commander still isn't a creature yet, so you'll need to add more counters. Once we get to 8 or more charge counters, Hearthhull is online as a flying, vigilant, hasted 6/7 that drains each opponent for 2 life every time you sacrifice a land. This is a very unique and fun ability to have in the command zone. It starts out as an incredibly reliable draw engine, and then turns into a true win con that sets you apart from other land-centric commanders. Now, let's see what the secondary commander does.
Zariel Genesis Shepherd is a 2 black red green 2/5 insect druid with flying. They let you play lands from your graveyard, and whenever you sacrifice another non-token permanent during your turn, you get to put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Zariel's power on up to 1 other target creature. Zariel is a true first mate. They help keep the entire engine running. The ability to play lands from your graveyard is a perfect complement to Hearthhull, as you can immediately play the lands you sacrifice, as well as make your forces bigger when you sacrifice that land in the first place. You'll have to find another way to buff up their power so that they can give more than just +2/+2 every time, but that won't be too hard in Jund. Honestly, I think this is perfect duality between the commander and their ship. It shows some amazing synergy, and honestly, it informs what the entire deck is trying to do. Sacrifice lands, get them back, sacrifice them again, all while getting an unstoppable advantage. So we should take a look at the 10 new cards Wizards has given us to see how much they're pushing this strategy.
Baloth Prime is a 4-mana 10/10 that enters the battlefield tapped with 6 stun counters on it, which means the next 6 times it would become untapped, it stays tapped and removes a counter instead. Whenever we sacrifice a land, create a tapped 4/4 beastie and untap this creature. For an additional 4 mana in a land sack, you can gain 2 life. Use Hearthhull to sacrifice a land and net you a 4/4 blocker that you can later use to station it, and all the while defrosting this massive 10/10 body.
Eumidian Wastewaker is an incredible 4-mana 4/4 that every time it attacks has you and defending player discard a card or sacrifice a permanent, and then you draw a card for each land card put in a graveyard this way. Plus, it has Encore for 8 mana. Encore means you exile it from your graveyard, and for each opponent, you create a hasty token copy that attacks that opponent this turn if able. Feel free to sacrifice a land on this swing, because Zara will not only let you play it right after, netting you free card draw, but also turn this bad boy into a 6/6 before blockers are declared as well.
Avendo Brushrazor gives you some impulse draw whenever you sacrifice a non-token permanent on a 3-mana 2/2 body. You can play any of these cards from exile as long as he sees you sacrifice something during your turn. Yet another card is here letting you sacrifice a land to trigger your commander and gain you some extra mana on top of it, as a little treat.
Horizon Explorer is vital to how this deck runs. Not only does this 3-mana 2/4 create a lander token for you whenever you attack a player, she also makes your lands entered untapped, allowing all your special lands to be used immediately. What is a lander token? It's an artifact that lets you pay 2, tap and sack it, then tutor up a basic land into play tapped, or untapped in this case.
Scouring Swarm is the reverse Scoot Swarm that triggers every time you sacrifice a land. If you have less than 7 lands in your yard, make a 1/1 black insect with flying. But if you have 7 or more, make another 3-mana green-black insect with flying, which ends up filling up the sky once you start getting that sacrifice ship rolling.
Now, Kuro, I've got to talk about the incredible value of Planetary Annihilation. For 5 mana, each player chooses 6 lands they control and then sacrifices the rest. And then Planetary Annihilation does 6 damage to each creature. Aside from the fact that Mass Land Denial is in a Precon, doing exactly 6 damage is important here because Hearthhole will survive. While Zarl probably dies, they'll still see each land that we sacrifice, letting them place all those +1/+1 counters on the ship. And with a cleared up board and tons of sacrifice triggers, that should lead to a GG.
That is pretty amazing. And I actually have something for getting our cards back. Exploration Broodship is another spacecraft that enters as early as turn 1. Once we get 3 charge counters on it, it'll let us play an additional land, keeping us ahead of our opponents from the beginning of the game. Then, at 8 charge counters, we can cast a permanent from our graveyard by sacrificing a land in addition to its other costs. Sacrificing a land triggers Hearthhole, allows us to recast Zariel, and since we can play an additional land, we can get the land that we sacrificed right back. The synergy is out of this world.
And the last new cards are the brand new lands entering the game. Eumedian Hatchery, Festering Thicket, and Vernal Fen. 2 of which are helping complete land cycles that are light years old, and the last of which gives us an army of blockers whenever we need it.
It's very clear that the strategy for this deck is sacrificing land. It's not specifically a landfall deck, nor is it all about ramping. Those things do happen on the account of the Omnaths, Balops, and Morogs, but those are just byproducts to an otherwise refreshing and new Precon strategy. Everything in this deck works in some way with your commander. Braids sacrificing a land on your end step? No one else is gonna do that. So you get to draw up to 3 cards with her, trigger 2 life loss with Hearthhole, and get a 5/3 from Titania.
Harrow, Roiling Regrowth, Springbloom Druid, each of these lead to +1/+1 counter explosions with Jury, Korvold, and Mazarek. And if Zarl is there to see all of that, your opponents are cooked. And you didn't even lose any resources.
That's why, personally, I would focus on 2 things when upgrading this deck. Doubling down on what your deck is already saying it wants to do, and then adding some powerful mass land sacrifice outlet. Exploration Broodship, Oracle of Moldiah, and Hearthhole are the only sources of additional land plays in the whole deck. So let's help them out with the likes of Azusa and Exploration instead of Hammer and Rakdos Charm.
Since we're playing additional lands, we want to make sure Zarl isn't our only source of graveyard plays. Ramanap Excavator, Crucible of Worlds, Walk-In Closet give us some much needed redundancy that Groundskeeper, Augur, and Satyr Wayfinder just don't bring to the table.
But we need to make sure that our commander, once they're all stationed up, is our guaranteed win con. Because it's a lot harder for our opponents to stop life loss than just blocking creatures. Zurin Orb, Sylvan Safekeeper, they're both infinite sack outlets for our lands when it's time to planetfall.
And massive spells like Nahiri's Lithoforming and Scapeshift are game enders when we have our fleet set up, closing out the game much better than an Eldrazi or a Binding.
The World Shaper Precon gives you a very clear game plan, and one that will lead to a lot of big brain plays when you master it. Shoutouts to Cameron Williams for designing such a fun and unique deck.
I've been Mask from Friendly Rivals, and you can catch us on YouTube talking all things Commander, with interesting deck techs, clever interactions, and weird rules.
And I've been Kuro Hitsuki. If you want to join in on the next deck build and want to share your opinions, head over to my Twitch channel where I'm streaming 5 nights a week. And lastly, if you're looking to pre-order this deck, head over to CoolStuffInc.com and use code KURO for 5% off. Or if you just want to see the deck list of all the upgrades that we suggested and more, head over to the Moxfield link in the description.
So let us know if we missed anything in the comments down below, because we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for watching.